Well, there's a pretty awesome sunsets over the ocean denoting the end of another day. It also denotes the end of another trip on the channel. A wondrous 3-month epic adventure through the one and only Thailand. And now, or rather in about 24 hours, I'm about set to head back to the UK and whatever that may bring. But I thought, because we've had 3 months in Thailand, it might be a nice time, as it's sort of an end of an era on the channel, or the end of a season if you like, to have a little bit of a Q&A. And I put it out on social media and whatnot, and you guys have thrown some questions, and quite coolly, a lot of them are sort of specific to this trip. So yeah, let me get comfy and I can answer a few questions. So I'll be honest, I don't know who specifically sort of asked each question. I haven't written that down, but yeah, a few of them are sort of house related, and the first one specifically asking how the house hunting was going. Well, if you've seen the last episode, it was going pretty well. We had everything pretty sorted and we were just waiting on decisions from the bank. Although in the last 24 hours, just before I leave, it's all fell apart. Long story short, if you haven't seen the last episode, the 2 plots of land that we put a deposit on in the hope of doing a house on there that was the same as the other houses around there on the estate, turned out that the guy had decided to just build away and wasn't prepared to sort of wait for our decision from the mortgage people. We'd wanted to turn the house sideways to face our garden, and he'd just gone ahead and built the house as it was normal, pointing to the road. So for us moving forward, it just wasn't an option. And like I say, he wasn't prepared to turn the house around or make any plans or changes. So the house hunting, unfortunately, yeah, it's gone to shit. But it is what it is. And it kind of leads into the second question, which is, what's my timeline for hopefully moving over here to live? And it's still something that we want to try and do for the whole family. We all want to live here, and the time scale was 5 years to 6 years from now. And maybe we can organise things and still make that timeline feasible. Thing is, with the timeline, we'd love to move over here. We could sell up now and probably come back and try and buy some in cash. But we've got kids, and kids are at school, and they've got another 4 or 5 years of schooling. So that was why our timeline was always 5 or 6 years time. We want them to finish the schooling in the UK, and then we can hopefully move over here. And like I say, we're still going to push for it. Who knows what will transpire over the next few years. I've only been doing the YouTube a few years. I would never have known I would have been doing this as a full-time career a few years ago. So yeah, I'm old, we haven't got much time left, but I feel we've still got a few years left to do, hopefully, what we want to do. Oh, this is a pretty cool one. Do I have a favourite place that I've visited on this trip? And there has been a few, but thinking about that question, I would probably have to say Pai. Pai was fantastic. It had everything that I'd want from a place in Thailand. Beautiful scenery, great weather, great food, a few places to go out and do stuff. But more than that, the thing that really sold me on Pai was the vibe there. The people were beautiful. They were so welcoming and opened arms. The type of place where you go in a restaurant for a coffee and they decide not to bother charging you. Just have a coffee, it's been nice meeting you and such. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. And again, I would, and did mention it before, consider possibly buying land up there. Not as a permanent place to live. It didn't have the amenities for that, like we said before in the episodes, but yeah, just to maybe be up there for a few months of the year, have something you could rent out, and then maybe use yourself for a certain amount of time. Could be perfect, and financially maybe feasible. As we said before, land up there was between £5,000 and £10,000 for 1,600 square metres of land. Massive amount. But yeah, definitely Pai. The places around there were beautiful as well, little valleys and canyons to visit, and I really enjoyed my time there. I wish I'd stayed a little bit longer, but at that time on the trip I had a real itinerary and a time scale and just couldn't afford to stay there a little bit longer time wise. So maybe it's one for the future, a place I'll visit again at some point. I'd like to, but yeah, definitely Pai in the north, in the mountains, away from it all. Now, well, this one's non-specific to the trip, but it's definitely specific to where we're heading in the next few episodes. Where do I want to go on my first car camping trip? I'll hold my hands up, I've been looking at Lewis and Harris up in Scotland. I would like to get up there at some point, but I think realistically, and I'll tell you now, a little bit of a spoiler alert, I may have a world record attempt that I'm going to be doing. Oh yes, and it's car camping related. Well, it's not, but it will be, because I'll make it that way. But hey ho, it means I could probably go quite local. I'm thinking Peak District, mate. I'd just love to we've been away for so long, 3 months in the blazing heat and sweat, and I know it looks fantastic to everybody, but I honestly can't wait to get back and just get in one of the cribs, go out for the night, get a bit nippy, wake up with a frosty morning, and yeah, be in the hills and dales somewhere. So yeah, I maybe hit the peaks, but I have got a lot of plans where I'm going to go once I get back. Quite a few, to be fair. Did I enjoy the trip as much as people did watching it? I could just turn around now and say, hey, yes, it was all fantastic, but I'm not. I'm going to be realistic. The first month, until I got to Koh Samui, was amazing. I had a full itinerary. I knew where I was going from day to day, and I was on a proper mission to get there and make good content along the way. And I really do hope, that I managed to do that. On a personal level, I think some of the episodes I made at the start of this trip, I think, for me personally, were some of the best episodes I've made on any YouTube channel. I think they were really well documented, well researched, well put together, and I really enjoyed doing it. And yeah, I hope that came through on the videos. When I got to Samui, however, things started taking a bit of a change. Simply because, as we've discussed, the offer of a mortgage came into effect, which made me suddenly have 2 jobs. I was running around looking for properties, and I was also trying to get content out for you guys, and it became a little bit much, if I'm honest. I like to keep moving and I like to keep traveling, and I got stuck on this island, which I do love, for about 6 weeks. And 6 weeks in one place is the longest amount of time I've spent anywhere in the past 4 years, and it's been very difficult to deal with, and also a little bit hard to explain. I made plans to go to other places and other islands and make other content and other trips, and then in the interim period of waiting to go on those trips, people had called me and tell me they got viewings on properties. So then I was having to cancel the trips away, go view properties and put other content together. So yes, the whole trip has been fantastic, but it was never a holiday for me. It was always a YouTube working trip, which was planned for 5 weeks and lasted for 3 months. It sounds like I keep saying the same thing. I think we did it in France as well. We went for 1 month and we ended up staying there for 2 months. I just can't help myself. But it was a little bit difficult. But even saying that, I do think some of the episodes that we made, even once we got to Samui, were fantastic. The Catch and Cook was a great day out, and I hope people enjoyed it. The 24 hours on the oyster farm, the house in the ocean, I think was a real special episode. And all of these will sit for endless time on the channel, in the playlist. And a few others, even the last few trips or the last few episodes that I've done on the mainland, I think were really good, and I really enjoyed it. I just wish for the past sort of 7-8 weeks, or the past 6 weeks, that I would have had the opportunity to follow an itinerary for YouTube more than having to look for a house, which is eventually ended up coming to shit and nothing. Which also makes me feel that had I known and had the foresight, which no one's ever going to have, let's be honest, I possibly would have gone back to the UK. Without a doubt, would have gone back to the UK earlier. But you have to follow your dreams, and that's what we try to do. And now, I'm very off topic from what the question was. But yeah, it was a good trip. It was a great trip. I just feel it was a little bit longer than it should have been, but not by design, just by how it transpired. But hey, I'd hope to think and like to think that we can have more of these big trips. Maybe not just backpacking, bikepacking, maybe we'll take the car somewhere and do something amazing in the future, but yeah, it was a good tester as well, I feel. I do think having a second channel and trying to put a few travel episodes on there, I appreciate, and this is very off topic from the question, but I do appreciate that the apple fell a lot farther from the tree than some people wanted it to. It wasn't car camping or van related, and hence why I sort of tried a second channel. And it does make me think wholeheartedly deep down, that we could possibly at some point, if I had the time and the manpower, run 2 channels. I would love to keep the car camping, van life and all that going. I enjoy it to the max. It's where our soul and where we came from, our roots. But I also love the travelling. I think we made some good episodes that could definitely build up a second channel. But hey, that's for the future, and it's very, very off topic. Well, here's a bit of a fruity one. Probably one I shouldn't answer, but I will do. What direction do I see the UK going? And the reason I'll answer it is because I think it's quite relevant. I felt disillusioned with the UK 30 years ago, and I wanted to leave them. And 30 years later, I still feel disillusioned with the UK, and I still want to leave it. I think we can all agree there's only one way the UK is going, and it doesn't seem in a positive way. Progress happens everywhere and stops for no man or woman. And if you don't like the progress that's happening, if you're capable and you can and you want, then maybe it's time to leave. And that's the way the UK feels for me. Government doesn't give a shit about the working class, man. It didn't 30 years ago, and nothing's changed. We're just a cog in the machine. Their machine, not ours. Another fruity one again, and hopefully it comes to fruition. Once settled in Thailand, how would I feel if one of my kids went back to the UK? Probably a bit devastated, to be honest. Having spent all those years trying to get here and then one of them goes back. But it's their life. And I guess like my parents, I never really settled in the UK. I spent a good 15, 20 years travelling away and being around the world, and it'd be a similar thing for me if they did it, I guess. Not great, but I feel that they'd probably always come back. One of them was born here, and the other one's roots are in Thailand with their mum, you know, so I think they'd end up coming back eventually. But the world's a big place, and my kids have got that travel bug from me already, and they'll probably have it as they grow older and will eventually go travelling around. After biking a lot in Thailand, would have considered doing a bike trip around the UK. Obviously we're talking sort of motorbiking, and I've thought about it before, and it may be something on the cards, but to be honest I don't think it's going to be something feasible, renting out a big motorbike and all the gear. But hey ho, never say never, you know what I mean. But the trips that we've had with this motorbike, or the motorbikes that we've had on this trip, yeah, they've been bloody fantastic. That one from Chiang Mai to Pai and Mai Hong Song, around the Mai Hong Song loop, one of the most famous biking roads in the world. Yeah, pretty damn special, and it was pretty good, and it was a good form of transport. I do like the biking transport, and yeah, I would like to bike pack proper motorbiking at one point. Whether it happens in the UK, we'll have to see. Number 1 tip for travellers coming to Thailand for the first time. If it had been years ago, 20, I would have just said grab your backpack and go with the flow. These days I think I'd say exactly the opposite. I'd say make sure you've got a good itinerary. And obviously if you want to see and do things and travel around, I'd say you want a good itinerary, a good plan, and honestly a good bloody budget. Don't be held back. If you come into Thailand for a few weeks and you're going to travel around, it's going to be one of them one in a lifetime sort of trips, then yeah, get your money saved, because you will need it in Thailand. And another tip I'd say if you're going to be travelling around is book your accommodation and your stuff early before you get here, because you may find that you'll get better prices. It limits you a little bit to what you can do in terms of changing your itinerary, but you may find that you'd save quite a bit of money. I'd also see what time of year is best for you to come here depending on your budget. Sometimes of the year are a little bit cheaper than others, and I know that's not one tip, but I think there needs to be a few. It's a big country and it's a big place to come for a big trip. But yeah, I'd say good planning is key. Would I do a collab with other YouTubers? Before it was a bit of a weird one, and I kind of said no, but I think these days definitely I would. Yeah, there's a few peeps that I'd like to hook up with. We won't name names because it's a bit of a weird one, but yeah, definitely peeps. in the van life sort of genre. And to be honest, there's a couple of peeps that I'd love to do a bit of travelling with if that transpired on another channel. But yeah, I'd definitely be up for some collabs these days. I think as well, yeah, we've out-talked the sun. I think we've got one last question, which is, am I still thinking of doing a van? Yeah. When? I'm not sure. We're looking at mid-February now, and in my honest opinion, my idea was to buy a van sort of December time when it was cheap. That was one of the options. We came to Thailand instead. So if I could get back, surmise the cheese together and find something at a decent price within a few weeks of getting back, then yeah, it may be a viable option. But I think the longer I leave it towards summer, the option of getting something at a decent price is going to be less. But yeah, at some point, I still would like to get a van. But for now, what I need to concern myself with is leaving this beach and this wondrous island and getting my shiznick sorted to head back to Blighty, mate. So whatever you're getting up to, I hope you enjoyed this little weird, unusual questions and answers episode. For now, big love to everyone. Take care of yourselves. Say goodbye to the sun, because the snow's coming next. And in whatever you're getting up to, take care of yourselves and enjoy the misadventure.